Live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook friends. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamos, and this is Straight Talk with Scott and Trish and friends. And this time we've got some really wonderful friends joining us. The topic is Tantra and sacred sexuality. And we were kind of inspired to do this because all four of us are going to be teaching uh, online for the Oregon Tantra Festival, since obviously because of COVID, it's online instead of in person. And I thought, well, this is a good, juicy topic to talk about. And so I wanted to bring on two other friends, who I'll introduce in a moment, who are really extraordinary. And they've been doing this work for a long, long time. But before that, if you are enjoying what we do, please share it on your Facebook wall. And you also are welcome to come into the Zoom webinar room. We will take some questions from people. And the Zoom webinar room is 979-896-8857. Again, that's 979-896-8857. I'll also post that on Facebook. And if you see any of us looking down, it's not that we are bored, it's that we are probably checking Facebook or sharing it out. The first person I want to introduce is my partner in this class, this group, this Friday night experience, and that's Trish. And hey, Trish. And I'm
Hi,
envious.
everyone out there.
Trish is having an adventure. Tell us briefly about your adventure.
I have come to hang out with a couple, five other people in Palmdale, and we are all working on our stuff and our, like our heartfelt, authentic, sovereign selves here. And it's a really beautiful place to drop in and to just shift a little bit of the perspective of the world. And it's really nice and slightly windy. So I'm going to have some like, whoo, hair going on. Just you wait.
Great.
Great
Well,
stuff.
we will be hearing a lot from Trish. And I'm not going to put the spotlight on someone, we were just talking about how long we've known each other. It's about 33, 34 years. So I guess she was about 16 at the time that we met. Um, this is Evelina Rose, and Evelina teaches the alchemy of love. She's a metatherapist, intimacy and communication coach. She's been in practice for 42 years. And she blends metaphysical and therapeutic practices and healing work in beautiful, multidimensional ways. She's a powerful channel. Many of you probably have been on my Saturday Night Live, the Global Peace Tribe show, and she's done a couple of beautiful meditations for us, and I'm hoping you'll do another one for us in June. I need to talk to you about booking a date with you to do a meditation for us. She recently left the Bay Area, which is where I am, and moved to Asheville, North Carolina. She's a
Woo!
she's a shaman. She's an alternative healer. She's quite the Tantrika. And I'm just going to start by asking you to share a little bit about what Tantra and sacred sexuality mean to you. And take a few minutes, share with us.
Thank you. Good to be with you here. So, for me, Tantra is a way of life. It permeates everything I do. And it means bringing my breath to every experience. It means that whatever happens, I'm looking for deeper meaning or higher understanding of it. That if I am in a day and I'm low energy, I do some practice of breathing and moving energy. Today, I was enjoying one of Laurie Handler's practice, which is the Egyptian cleansing breath. Because I get on Facebook or on Zoom and I'm in everybody's living room. I come home and then I'm just scattered all over. So it's using the breath to just clear everyone else's energy and get back to myself. So I use it a lot for energy management. And it also means that I've studied Tantra, in Tantra for 32 years or so. And it means I'm never far from an orgasm. So if I want to just move myself into an orgasmic flow, I can. And that's one of my greatest assets in life is that I can really use the Kundalini in my body to up level my consciousness, to feel more expanded, to come home to myself. It's such a resource that we have, and I love it. I also find in connecting with others, there's just a sense of now. You know, Tantra helps you let go of your mind and let go of futurizing and arrive in now. And what we learn, what I teach, is all the pleasures in the current moment. And so it keeps bringing me back to now and bringing me back to now and back to now. And that's where I can create the life I want by being here. That lets me access my quantum self. And that's where changes come.
It's beautiful. Here in Love Coach Academy, we twinkle. And Evelina, I was just so intrigued by a lot of what you said. So I'm going to ask you if you'd be willing to just give a practical example of maybe when you're feeling perfectly human or life is really tough. And you mentioned it briefly, but I'd like for you to go a little more into detail. How do you transition from human yuck and frustration and hard stuff into your own orgasm without having another human being there to make that happen for you?
So much of it's about awareness. I'll give you an example. I went to a party in Sonoma County, and I knew a lot of people. I knew like 30 or 40 people there. But I also knew a lot of people there were looking for a partner. And I got in this mindset of we've all ruled each other out. We've all decided there's nobody here. Nobody's going to be interested in me. And I just got lonelier and lonelier. And nobody danced with me. People didn't include me in conversations. I wanted to curl up in the corner or go home. And then I went, wait a minute. And I took a breath. That's the secret. It's inspiration. I took another one and I went, I don't like what I'm thinking. What do I want to think? And I thought, I am well romanced, well received, well loved, treated with honor and respect. And suddenly, within minutes, people were dancing with me. They were including me in their conversation. I had these beautiful interactions with people and had a really beautiful time that night. So it's like that. You just get aware of what is happening inside and realize you have choice. And it almost always comes through the breath. Awareness, presence, and breath.
It's beautiful. I'm going to go back to some twinkling for that one. Thank you. I definitely look forward to hearing more from you. And yeah, that's really, really special. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to go to our other Tantrika goddess teacher, who I've also known for quite a while. I'm trying to remember how long we've known each other, Crystal, at least 10 years.
I think around 2010, 2012, somewhere around in there we met.
Yeah. I remember being at a workshop in Sedona with you. Anyway, Crystal Dawn is a Tantra teacher and spiritual midwife. She's on the faculty of ISTA, that's the International School of Temple Arts, which I highly recommend. I know Trish has done ISTA, and I've done a lot of work with ISTA. And Crystal is devoted to the art of making love with life itself. She's dedicated to helping people to release emotional baggage so they can awaken to their full aliveness. Her playful enthusiasm creates a really amazing space. I've always noticed, Crystal, that when Crystal walks into the room, so does playfulness, so does magic, so does a lightheartedness. And her mission is to be a catalyst for global transformation, manifesting this world we all want, based on love, freedom, and compassion for beings everywhere. And she's the founder of Tantra for Awakening and Tantraversity, which is her online school. Thank you so much for being with us and being who you are, first of all. You know, I always appreciate who you are as opposed to just what you've done, but you've done a lot.
Yeah, I left home. I've been a doer, a shaker, and a doer for most of my life. It's really great to be here, and it's great to be here with all of you. And I've known Evelina for a long time, and I feel like you're my people. So it's amazing what Zoom lets us do.
It is. You know, I've been just really amazed at the connections that have happened. I mean, I'm feeling more connected. I'm missing physical touch, but I'm more connected than I've been in ages because I've been connecting with so many people with all these online events that we're doing.
Yeah.
Crystal, tell us a little bit about what Tantra and sacred sexuality means to you.
Yeah, when you asked Evelina that question, I was like, okay, I need to come up with some snappy answer. But I think for me, it's a kind of, I mean, I had a spiritual awakening when I was 16. Sort of happened spontaneously with the help of a little psychedelics, but and I just went into a state of really like bliss state that you read about. And it didn't have anything to do with what was happening. It was just this sense of feeling connected to everything and recognizing that it was all somehow it was all part of me and there was no separation. And in the recognition of that, there was just these waves of joy. And it went on for a week. About day 4, I thought, okay, this is my life. I'll just be in bliss for the rest of my life. But after the 8th morning, you know, I knew that what I'd experienced hadn't gone away, but for some reason I wasn't experiencing it. And that kind of launched me onto my path that led me to become a mom and then become a midwife. And then eventually, when I went to San Francisco in 1987. You were just saying it before we started this the video that you lived in Marin then, and I moved to San Francisco to go to midwifery school. And while I was living in San Francisco, I had a spontaneous Kundalini experience, and that really made me curious because I had read a book called the Kundalini Experience, and it was talked a bit about Tantra. So when I had this Kundalini awakening, I was like, okay, I know this has something to do with Tantra. I have to find out what this is. So that was in like 1988. And about that time, Margot Anand's book came out, and the Muir's book came out. And so I was kind of studying that. And at the same time, I was also I was in my early mid-30s and starting to really kind of explore like my own contraction. So to me, Tantra is a path of awakening. It's a path of coming into knowing what you are is not this physical person as much as we think it is. It's more of this really being the divine creator of everything. And it's a kind of a process of being able to recognize that that's what you are. And also, you know, and it's also this kind of almost comes in waves. You know, you know it and then you forget it, and then you know it and you forget it. And of course, to really know something well, you often become a teacher of it, because that's the way to really get good at, you know, bringing it to your attention. And being able to speak about it requires a more of a depth of knowing. So I think that's how I ended up kind of leaving midwifery in the sense of delivering babies and became more of a spiritual midwife. Because for me, I see now that I'm holding space as a midwife for people to rebirth themselves and recognize the divine within themselves. And that's why I like this saying of making love with life, because that's really become my spiritual practice. It's like, how can I make love in this moment, no matter what it looks like, whether it's COVID or it's being on a 20-hour flight, or if it's, you know, being confronted by some challenging situation, or feeling a disconnection from my community or for a particular person. So and to me, exactly what Evelina said, it's about awareness. And it's also about some kind of a quality of the ability to embrace what is arising. That's how I've just come up with this new line. I really like this. It's really, how do I embrace whatever is arising and really make love with it without going into a whole story about it and a judgment of it, which is what often the mind wants to do. The mind often wants to label, this is good, this is bad. If it's bad, it's a problem, and I have to fix it. So instead, I like to embrace things and make love to them. And even if it's resistance or, you know, things that are challenging, particularly when things are challenging, it's so much easier to make love to it when it's all pretty and sexy and hot. It's not as easy when it's all prickly and slimy and oozy.
That's beautiful. You know, a little tip that's helped me with that is when I see something or person that I have a judgment about, I'll think to myself, there's God fully experiencing itself as Donald Trump, or what, you know, whoever it might be, right, or whatever it might be, and in that remembrance that it's all one incredible experience. We're living at this amazing time where we now know that, oh my God, there is no blank space between us. We now understand scientifically about the unified field, which kind of scientifically explains what spiritual teachers have been saying forever, that we really are one ever-changing mass of molecules, right? And that it is just, you could even say life is one big orgasm, right? It's this orgasm of experience, and orgasms often are pleasurable, but they can be many other things as well. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, as a midwife, I've often said the difference between pleasure and pain is just how much you can open up and allow it, in.
How much breath, probably. How much breath.
Yeah. If you can
Trish, what does Tantra and sacred sexuality mean to you? We haven't heard from you on that topic yet.
For me, actually, I just want to say something to Crystal Dawn is like, I've been in this exploration of the place between pleasure and pain being the qualifier that I use, the qualifying language, whether that's like pain as a judgment or pleasure as a judgment. That's just like my whole thought. But Tantra for me, or sacred sexuality, is really bringing the consciousness or the dropping into the body and connecting self to one's spirit and really meeting someone or something like an energy or an experience or your day or your evening as a fully present and embodied being. I'm also really, I know Tantra to be the place where the practices or the understanding of where the breath meets the spirit and the body meets the breath. And in this place of really just, it's all unity. So we're practicing the subtleness, the subtle practices of sensation, or I'm going to use sensuality, and not necessarily the erotic term of sensuality, but the sensation-based humanness of it all. Like, there's, again, the pleasure pain conversation is like, this is still sensation and this is still sensual, and this is still sensual, and so is that. So it's those places. The practices to be in communication with the divine, to remember without the separation of the human thing that we do, that we're separate. Like what Evelina was saying is like, the energy that you're holding and that you're presenting in the world as you're like, oh, I'm lonely and da da da, and that resonates, that has a vibrational sound that people either are attracted to or move from. And so it's playing with this really juicy and embiotic, like fluid of energetic divineness of oneself. So it's the non-separation of the human mind, body, spirit, God. That's what it means.
So now people have heard like pretty semi-enlightened views of sacred sexuality and Tantra from three pretty semi-enlightened, highly evolved human beings. So as the less wise species, the less wise gender, let's talk to men for a minute. Because for a lot of men it's like, yeah, but by myself? Why would I want to do it by myself, right? And making love to Trump, making love to the things you don't like in life? What are you talking about? That's crazy, right? I mean, that might be out there a little bit. And so, and if not, but for anybody who's feeling that way, it's like, because this can sound very airy-fairy, Now, I know all three of you are living this, right? That's why you're here, and that's why I've invited you. So, but it can sound very airy-fairy, and especially if we haven't really experienced it. we haven't really experienced how to make that transition. I love the story that Evelina gave. I think we all know what it's like to be at a party. No one's relating to you. And, you know, what do? I mean, you know, you get on the cell phone, or you leave, or you feel sorry for yourself. And Evelina's story of how she made the transition and attracted it is beautiful. But some of us may have gremlins inside our mind poking at us, you know, thinking that, you know, with all sorts of thoughts. What do you mean just breathe? What do you mean, you know, love myself? How can I love myself? Nobody cares. Nobody's coming to me. Nobody's talking to me. I'm overweight. I don't have enough money. Whatever our stories are. Right? And so I do want to say I've been practicing Tantra for a really long time. My very first Tantra workshop, as fate would have it, was in 1986, and it happened to be Margot Anand's first time teaching in California. And a lifelong friendship was formed. Margot ended up becoming very close friends with my wife, Suchi. So I've been around for a long time. I made a movie about Tantra in 1989. I did a lot of television stories about Tantra, and I love Tantra and sacred sexuality. For me, it is about weaving. Tantra literally means to weave. That's what the word means. And so for me, it's weaving our masculine and our feminine, either within ourselves or with another. It's weaving our spiritual self with our animal body. We are spiritual beings, but we are in animal bodies. Weaving all of our different feelings, comfortable and uncomfortable feelings. Right? And it's a way to transcend right and wrong, good and bad. Again, when we talked about, you know, Crystal's talking about making love to life. It's like not saying, you know, oh, you're good, you're bad, but wow, how can I make love to everything coming into my world right now? So it's a beautiful, beautiful practice. And I also want to say that sadly, we've all been around the block. Like anything in life, it can be abused. You know, I think we all would agree that Jesus was a wonderful teacher, and the Roman Catholic Church is probably responsible for more death and suffering and more wars than any other institution in our history. Now, that doesn't mean that being Catholic is bad. It doesn't mean loving the Catholic faith is bad, but obviously a lot of people have died in the name of Jesus, right? Or killed in the name of Jesus. So likewise in Tantra and sacred sexuality, there is a shadow side to it. Like there's a shadow side to everything. And I just want to open up that conversation. And I'm wondering, Trish, if you'd like to tackle that first, only because we talked about it briefly, sorry.
Well, I'd like to tap into some aspects for some less woo-woo and what do you call airy-fairiness is some of the benefits of Tantra as well. Just to tap in for a brief moment is really deeper connection with your partner and yourself. Nervous system relaxes. You can also increase your stamina in some certain practices, both men and women. Heightened sensual experiences. I mean, like heightened experiences in their body and in their genitals. Also a lot more feeling more connected to others who you're not intimate with, physically or emotionally intimate. So I mean, there's benefits to these practices as well. And then kind of moving towards the shadow side of it is just like with anything, it can be absolutely abused. It can get washed out is kind of a way that I've seen it happen. And, you know, I came in under the guise of Neo-Tantra, which after a while, I saw a lot of people have some really powerful Kundalini awakenings and not have the structure of their own spiritual like foundation really built under them. And so it was really dangerous emotionally and spiritually for them because it took them some time to gather their pieces back. And then in like a less woo aspect is like I saw a lot of men and women, actually. I saw a lot of humans, people, really like take this and be kind of sleazy with it, or like oozing their energy, where it was like, oh well, what did you call it, Scott? It was called what?
California hot tub tantra.
Oh my God. When I heard that, I was like, that is exactly it. There were just like these people who'd be like, yeah, you're into Tantra? Well, you want to breathe together? You want to like, work on my sacred chi with me? And I was like, I'm not sure about that.
Can I introduce my magic love wand into raising your consciousness into higher states of enlightenment?
I'm sorry. Oh, I mean, I don't know how graphic I can get, but there were some experiences where I was like, whoa, that was real weird, and I've got to go process that on my own now. Where I just, like it's when you're first starting out, you're really excited, and it makes you feel like Crystal Dawn was like, I'm on live, and I'm on fire, and it's like days of this, and this is my new life, and you're like, oh, there is another side where I have to integrate that experience, and really to have people that you play with that you find safe, and not just caught up in that like yumness of it all. So it can be manipulated if the intention and the respect isn't there.
In a moment I'm going to go to you, Evelina, to talk about how to keep it within integrity. But just one thought that came to my mind. I also, Crystal, had an awakening when I was 16, and it was helped with, it was my first LSD trip. And it was amazing. I fell in love with life. I fell in love with myself. It was a beautiful experience. And that's kind of what set me. It was a big step in my development, a big step in my evolution. I mention it because often we have an awakening. We have either a peak sexual experience or a peak hallucinogenic experience or a peak love experience without drugs. But love is the greatest intoxicant of all. But often we can then become addicted or compulsive to keep trying to repeat that experience. And then we keep trying to repeat the experience by taking more drugs or by seducing more people or trying to recreate it in some way. And I think that's where often many of us had that like peak experience and then maybe got a little bit lost. And so I'm going to kind of go to Evelina for a moment about that, because I have such respect, Evelina, for how you do keep things sacred and juicy. So what are some of the tips that you give for finding that balance of having the highs, having the excitement, but doing it in a balanced, healthy, and sacred way?
One of the things I was thinking about as you were speaking of the shadow side is that when people are running energy, and especially if they're touching and running energy, you get way more susceptible, suggestible. And when people run a lot of energy and touch in hot tubs and such, and wait until they're really lit up to even think of a safer sex conversation or a boundary conversation, it's a little late, because you're kind of like, oh, whatever, yeah, keep going. Oh, it feels really good. And then afterwards, it's like, well, wait a minute, did I really choose that? So one of the things that we help people work with or play with is, while you're still a little sober, before you go too far into the practice, stop and take a moment and have a ritual of grounding and centering and saying intentions, and then share a hope, a fear, and a boundary, or something of that sort. So you're sharing what your boundaries are. And what I teach is boundaries are erotic, because when you share your boundaries with each other, it's like you're defining the playing field. So now we know that's outside the playing field, but this is inside. And as long as we're in that playing field, everything is allowed. So it lets people completely relax, rather than, oh, I don't know where that hand is going. But once you agree to the boundaries, you know where that hand is stopping. And so you can just surrender and enjoy and allow and really be present for whatever you're experiencing.
Beautiful. You also have the most beautiful voice. Oh my God, your voice is just like so beautiful. That's why we have you do the meditations. I do want to read some comments that have come in and ask all of you to respond. Krishna, who's a dear friend from Australia, writes, Tantra for me has been about creating a new connection with myself, accepting and finding parts of me I didn't even know were there, and I was looking outside of myself for, nurturing a relationship with my inner masculine and inner feminine. Beautiful. And I know Krishna, he's a very successful businessman, and so he's coming from that businessman world, and isn't that lovely what he's learned, right? And he's not like some California New Age guy, right? He's a very successful East Indian Australian businessman. So thank you, Krishna. And Radiance, who's one of our wonderful love coaches, writes, it's all about building intimacy. I was able to heal my darkness from a profound level in that space that Tantra provided me. Radiance. So, and we'll continue to hear from, please, we really enjoy your, so I'm looking down, getting comments from the different, 15 different Facebook groups. And we're also, Ellen Steinfeld is carrying us on New Realities TV, which has over 50,000 subscribers, and Ellen's in my one of my rooms. So hello, Ellen. Also, this is probably going to be seen by Awake TV. Awake TV wants to start a Love Coach channel where all of our previous shows will show up. So that's something I've been negotiating this week. So anyway, for those of you watching the video replay, which is going to be actually the majority of people, we want to acknowledge you. It's wonderful, those of you that are live, and we'll get to your thoughts and comments and questions. But for those of you watching the video replay, we really appreciate you too. And so you can still put comments in on Facebook or reach out to us at lovecoachacademy.com, or Crystal and Evelina will let you know how you can reach them as well. Trish.
I just wanted to mention, just kind of talk about, we have all talked about this, and Krishna spoke about it, is really making, it really is about creating that connection with yourself before you create the connection with others. But it is making friends with, and Radiance also said this, is making friends or falling in love and loving, like deeply loving that shadow places, and not seeing there's like the high vibe spot that's like, woo, yeah, this is great. And then there's also the other side, and also making love to that, which makes it unified, right? That's what Tantra is about, is unification and the weaving of reality and spirituality and all of it, darkness and light, and whatever qualifier you use.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Crystal, what's alive for you? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, so, well, what was coming up for me was a few things. But one of the things I think you mentioned in my bio was talking about helping people release emotional baggage. And so what was coming up for me was when I had this Kundalini awakening in the 80s or 88, that was right when I was ending a 16-year marriage and had my first new lover. And but then in about a year, my relationship with this new man was starting to look very quickly like the end of my marriage. And I was like, the thing I have in common here is me. It's not about these two men. The issue must be with me. Where am I not? And really it comes back to what Evelina was talking about, is I didn't know how to have boundaries. And I had been raised in a way that I had developed this idea that I was responsible for everyone's happiness, which sort of meant that I didn't have any needs. And so literally I went into like a 6 years of body-centered breathwork therapy to deal with a lot of this stuff. And then I got into shamanic healing work. It really took me deeply into my path of healing myself, because I think the thing about Tantra is that you can't have any more light. You can't really expand any more into the light than you can in willing to go into your endarkenment. So there's a balancing there. It's like the yin yang symbol. You can't have one or the other. So that's a caveat to Tantra. If you want to be able to make love with everything, you have to also be willing to be willing to die and let go of everything, to let go. And in 2005, I ended up moving to Sedona, and basically left my whole life in Northern California, where I was I was a midwife, and I had like 5 different spiritual communities, and I had a beautiful 10 acres of redwoods, and came to Sedona, where I was like, I didn't really know why I was here and what I was going to do, and thought I was taking a year off. Oh, I was 50 at the time. I'll take a little midlife break. And then basically had an idea in my mind what I thought it would look like. And it didn't end up looking anything like that at all. And it's been the most amazing thing. But a lot of it has really been a willingness to keep letting go of what I think my life is about often, and just embracing what's arising and trusting the journey. To me, that's the other piece about this, having this relationship, when you kind of have it, when you have a deep, loving relationship with your inner, masculine, feminine, if you want to call it that, but all the parts of yourself, even when you're, even when some part of you is curling up in a ball and crying, you're like, okay, but this is life too. This is the beloved too. This is beautiful in its own sense, even though in the moment it might feel like shit. So I think Tantra, to me, that there's, in classical Tantra, there's actually 2 Kundalinis. There's the Kundalini, like the fiery Kundalini that rises up. And then there's the more watery Kundalini that's kind of more flowing down. And it's this dance of the rising and the falling. And actually, I was listening to a teacher today talking about Kundalini, and he was saying that in his estimation, because a lot of people don't understand the other flow of the Kundalini, that's where this, the problems can come up with people having disassociative states and that sort of thing. And so I think that's the other thing, is a lot of times people get involved with Tantra without having that foundation that Trish mentioned. To me, I think the biggest place where maybe neo-Tantra went awry is there wasn't enough time, because, Americans, we just want to be rock stars. We don't want to have to learn how to play chord, we don't want to play scales on the piano. So we want to just have the big orgasmic Kundalini awakening, but we don't want to learn about how to, be grounded and present and move our emotions and moment and live through the pain of whatever we think maybe the mind stuff. And also part of Tantra is clearing away all those, what they call the samskaras, all of the sort of obscurations of the mind. And to me, that's really the foundation of Tantra, is being willing to keep clearing away the obscurations. And it never stops. Some people have this idea, that I'm going to get someplace and then I'll have it. It's never like that. No matter where you are, there's, it's going to keep expanding, just like the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, first of all, big twinkling, because there was a lot of wonderful understanding and experience, and clearly experiential. I want to acknowledge Keith, who's in our webinar room, writes, I'm so grateful to be here, to hear you all share what I have begun to realize in my heart. And I'm really liking that we have so many men with us. Krishna writes about, Tantra is helping me to bring my shadows to light. So I want to just kind of slow down a little bit and really just acknowledge the journey. As Crystal just said, it is a journey. We're never just there. And in the journey, there is the play of shadow and light. And of course, there's the lure of multiple orgasms, or for man, non-ejaculatory orgasms. And it's beautiful, and it's powerful. And there's the moments where we do have, whatever you want to call it, awakened moments or higher consciousness moments. But probably in equal measure on the tantric path, there are difficult moments. There is the shadow side, right? I mean, we do live on a planet that at all times is half in light and half in darkness. And so learning how to work with our shadow side is a very, very significant aspect of any spiritual journey, and Tantra is a spiritual journey. So I'd love to maybe hear from all of you. Maybe we'll go Trish, Evelina, and Crystal about the shadow side, and then we're going to bring Jay Mayer in for a little bit to talk about light touch. So we're looking forward to that, and I'll bring you in a little bit, Jay. Trish.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you all. Yeah. I don't know. I have to just express that I have like the biggest crush on you all right now. Like it was just so honest and real and so heart touching and so foundationally, it just like, you know, thank you. That was great. So the conversation about the shadow side and making friends with it, is that where we're going? Is that what you wanted, Scott?
Yeah. Let's talk about the shadow side of it.
Yeah. So how I understand it to be is that there's these light places and these shadow places, and that it really is separating those, not separating, unifying, bringing those together, weaving them into the place where we're no longer creating the separation between you and me and them and this experience, the crunchy and the, you know, the good and the bad, you know, it's no longer playing the dynamic that like really but really seeing the shadow and looking at it and being like, oh, that's so beautiful, and stroking it and touching it and really seeing the softness and loving it there and bringing it into your heart as a full experience in your life. So that's how I understand the shadow side.
Beautiful. Thank you. Evelina, what's something you want to share about the shadow side and challenges and then ways to work with it?
I want to share that what got me into teaching Tantra in the first place was I had a lot of clients in my therapy practice that were incest survivors. And they were saying, when do I ever get to have a life? When am I ever going to have my sexuality healed? And I realized Tantra was a way to work with that. But because there were so many coming with those kinds of wounds, I wanted to create a really gentle place for that. I called my work Love Journey Tantra of the Heart. And what I found is that the nervous system that's been really wounded can't take a whole lot of new stimulation all at once. But each time that you come, you can go a little further, and then you may go into your wound. We always had assistants that could work with someone in the other room or in the main room to sit and hold them. So we made room for the healing of those wounds. And the more that people would keep doing the Tantra, the more they were able to tolerate the energy moving in their body. So being an incest survivor myself, what I used to find was about every other time I made love, I could feel, and the other times I couldn't. And every other time I self-pleasured, something would happen, but half the time, or more than half, nothing would happen. And so for me, it was learning to slow it down and let go of trying to go anywhere and learn how to be in the sensations of the moment. And also to help people to do that. And a whole lot of emotions might come up. We're moving Kundalini through the chakra system. And guess where we stuff our emotions? Mm-hmm. So it's going to bring it up. So we would do breath practices knowing it would bring up what was been stuffed. And then just really nurture people and hold them and in a sense, reparent people so that they could bring something pleasant into their sexuality and slowly be able to increase the light and release more of the shadow.
Wow. Thank you so much, Evelina. It's just beautiful. We have two more friends that have joined us. I'm going to introduce Radiance first. I actually met Radiance at a Tantra festival. We first met at the Hawaii Tantra Festival, and a beautiful friendship was formed, and she's now become one of our most wonderful and beloved love coaches. And I'm so glad you're with us, Radiance. I'd love to hear what you want to share.
Thank you. I'm just really inspired, and I've got a butt picture there. That's a bit of my like fun, festive. This is all really resonating with me. One piece that I've really recognized in helping people go through, especially women, well, it's mostly been women that I've been working with. Again, also healing through those major wound spaces is slowing down a lot. Like, and then that second piece that you were just mentioning, Evelina, which is the breath work and not being in a rush. I think early on, I was always like, let's get this done, come on, because my whole body was in this, I have to create something with this, versus like that Crystal was talking about, you know, the water elements of coming down, slowing down, and recognizing that this is creation energy and that this is a process and the unfolding that can happen in that. So I'm just really grateful to be on the panel and sitting and listening. It's really nourishing. Thank you.
It's great to have you here, Radiance. Love you so much. And Radiance has a weekly show that she does. Tell us just briefly about that, because I'm actually then going to talk a little bit about Love Coach Academy and Light Touch. So tell us about your show.
Sure. My show is Triggers to Treasures, and it's super fun. We help people, well, we don't help people, but people help themselves and get resources to go from like an UGG space to a wow, so that we recognize what are your precious needs and what are your precious values, and then what are your boundaries around that, so that people aren't just in story, they get to transform their own story into vibrancy.
Beautiful. It's a great show, and it's Tuesday mornings at 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. And then Trish also has a show on Love Coach Academy. It's the Self-Love Show, and that's on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. They're both great shows. And speaking of Love Coach Academy and Light Touch, I am going to show a 1-minute video. This is the world premiere of this video that Jay just completed with a little bit of support from myself, talking about the Love Coach Academy is a collective of heart-based individuals. We've helped thousands around the world to overcome challenges and to have greater relationships through understanding each other. We combine the wisdom of Marshall Rosenberg, founder of Nonviolent Communication, with emotional intelligence skill building, creating tools to change our neural pathways, which allow us to go from reptile brain reactivity into frontal lobe responsiveness. Under the leadership of Scott Catamos and his core group of coaches, we are excited to announce our new partnership with Jay Mayer and Light Touch. We are adding his techniques to our collective tool belts. Please join our upcoming free online webinars, giving you the support to thrive. So that's a wonderful opportunity for me. First of all, I want to twinkle Jay for editing that. And thank you. And with that, I also want to welcome my friend Krishna. I brought him into the room, so we're going to have a lively conversation here. But Jay, I'm putting the spotlight on you, and would love for you to share with a little bit about how Light Touch, what is Light Touch, and how it kind of connects to Tantra.
I'm hearing some bleeding through somewhere.
We hear you okay.
Okay. Well, Light Touch and Tantra are very much connected. You know, it's the same energy. We are an energy. And when we can somehow access that energy in a meaningful way, then we can, draw to ourselves a different result. Like if people are, we're talking about Tantra, and I just want to say for me, like Tantra was always kind of a code word for good sex or spiritual sex, when I was younger. And I think there's a whole other level, like Tantra should really change your life. When you invoke God on any level into your experience or spirit, things are going to change a lot quicker than, if we're, sex doesn't give you that same guarantee that you can get from the spirit. So Light Touch is all about, it's devotionally offering, our intentions for a better life, or to heal others, or to handle our financial needs, or for spiritual wellness. And, you know, God lives inside of us. Everyone says, yeah, well, God's inside of us. Well, there must be some way to contact ourself. And that's kind of where light touch came from. It was originally called sex magic. And I tried to, use the sexual energy to create, and I couldn't focus it. It would immediately go into sexual dreaming and fantasies. And that's different because with light touch, you're in control. You're going, thank you for miracles. And that's different than, hot tub consciousness, where it's all about the pleasure, but the pleasure is actually a way to access spiritual gifts.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I've got out my trusty rose. I have a rose bush. And so with light touch, one of the things, that he usually uses is a feather, but I've been using roses from my rose bush. And they smell really good, and they remind me of my wife who passed away because they're yellow roses. And so that's what I've been using. And, I'm just going to be honest, there's that part of me that when I'm doing it, I really like it. And I still have to manage the mental chatter inside my mind of, do I look ridiculous? Is this really, I just want to acknowledge that part because there might be other people watching going, really? But, it's really beautiful. And earlier today, we did a show at 9 o'clock this morning, and Jay came on and we did some light touch stuff. And I had people do a little blessing for me, and I've had a fantastic day. I want to say I really have had a great day. So, there's something beautiful
Hey,
here.
Scott, can you send me over some virtual light touch? I could use it.
I'm
With the rose?
I'm putting the rose on your particular square right now. Okay, so
Thank
there's
you.
the rose.
I'm feeling it. It smells so good. Hey, energetics is really important. I
That's
feel
right.
it.
I've got a whole little set that I clipped this morning when I went out to my rose bush. So, Krishna, welcome. I'm so glad to have you with us. And I did tell you a story briefly, but it's a powerful story. How here you are, this very successful businessman, and how Tantra has shifted your whole way of seeing yourself and your masculine and feminine side. And I'd love for you to speak about that for a moment.
So one of the things I realized through this journey is there are pathways we form to get things we think we want. So, for example, in business, I've learned how to give extreme value to people and how to give. And of course, I learned how to make money. But somewhere in there, I realized I was efforting so much. It was exhausting.
Mhm.
And then through this journey, I realized, oh, maybe I'm trying to get connection through business. Worthiness. What else? And the list goes on. And so all of a sudden, I can find myself through this journey giving these gifts to myself without doing all the effort. I can just give it to myself. And then guess what? I can go do business and just make money and own that part of me that just says, actually, I'm here to make a profit. Let's have a fair exchange. And this is how much I'd like to make. And it's clean. One of the concepts I've learned in Tantra is the cleaner I can be with my taking, the cleaner I can be with my giving. And that applies everywhere. And
You
as
got a lot of twinkles on that. I just want you to see in the gallery view all the twinkling you're getting, all the people that came forward loving that.
Yeah. So yeah, learn Tantra, you'll make lots of money. And you'll have lots of love. And you'll connect with that part of yourself that you might not have known was always there. At least that's been my journey.
Thank you, Krishna. I definitely want to hear more from you. Thank you.
Thanks, God.
So, how about each person sharing one tantric technique, tip, tool that you personally use and how it has benefited your life. And that might be a good way for us to complete. So each person sharing one tantric tip tool. Jay raised his hand first.
Yes, well, I've been working with twilight. I call twilight when you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning. And that's like a whole universe that we haven't explored yet, of putting suggestions into the subconscious mind. So I do light touch. I consider light touch a form of Tantra, because you're turning yourself on electromagnetically to send a request, just like you're turning on a light bulb. You are the light bulb, and you're going, thank you for miracles, and draws it. So morning and evening, when you wake up and go to sleep, send those seeds out. Thank you for miracle. And you believe it. That really works for me. And Jan, she went out, we were doing that twilight. She made 12 sales in a row. I said, after 9 sales, 8 sales, I said, if you get to 10, give me a testimonial, and including like rent in a day kind of sales. So, and she was setting records there for I don't know if there were records, but she was the top seller. And she would go, and I go, no, we haven't done the blessing, and I'd made her do it, and it actually works. Twilight's very powerful.
Beautiful, thank you. And Jan, who he's referencing, is his light touch partner, and she's a sweetheart. Who else wants to share? Who wants to go next, sharing a tip or tool? Crystal.
So I'll bring a tip in that relates to the shadow. So there's a practice in Tantra in the Tibetan tradition called the Chud practice, which has sometimes been translated as feeding your demons, or cutting through fear is another way of translating that. And so it's very easy and it's very practical. Anytime you notice that you're having a really strong aversion to someone, like when you mentioned Donald Trump, I always notice that I can have, there's a part of me that can have an aversion. Then it's also to ask yourself, okay, what is it about this person that is being a mirror for me to see some disowned parts of myself? So I would say to me, he's somebody who maybe is very self-absorbed and probably he'll just say anything and do anything if it makes him feel good. And probably I could learn something from Donald Trump about that. Because I'm usually always thinking, how can I be of service to others? And maybe there's more time where I could be, but anytime we have a strong reaction, whether it's an aversion, but it's also true when we put someone on a pedestal. Like you could say, oh, that's Scott Catamos. He's got such great hair. If I only had hair like him, or he's got that amazing radio voice, So if we find ourselves admiring somebody, it's also that thing that we're seeing in the other that we're admiring. It's also, how can I take that and recognize that that's also a part of myself? And it's really this very simple practice that you can just do throughout the day when you notice that you're going into either deep admiration or aversion for something, and just okay, how can I take this mirror in front of my face right now and take it in and acknowledge that this thing that I'm reacting or responding to is another part of myself. And that is really constantly, that to me, that's sort of the root, the foundation of this making love with life. It's a very simple practice. And you start to recognize that instead of going into a story, because the mind always wants to tell a story about why we don't like the person or why we admire the person. Instead, it's just recognizing they're actually literally letting us see another part of ourselves that we haven't fully owned as myself. You're muted, Scott.
The reminder that everything lives inside of me, as my friend Richard Bach likes to say, there I am. When we see somebody or something, there I am.
Yeah.
My mother used to say, but for the grace of God, there go I. That was one of my mother's favorite little sayings. Who would like to share a tip? Who's next? Great. Radiance, thank you.
First of all, I wanted to thank everybody to share the panel again tonight. This was really inspiring and beautiful. The one that I really love is prayers over the spine. and whispering prayers into the spine. That's my favorite. So often I will do that with my children, like what I'm seeing in them and what frequencies and vibrancies I see in them. And then also with my husband, he'll pray over my spine. So I really love that. Thank you.
And tell us just a little bit more. What does that mean, prayer of the spine? What is that? How do you actually do that? What's that mean?
It means going in and literally praying over the person's spine, visualizing exactly what it is that you're wanting and witnessing into their life, and then saying those words all the way up the spine, and then breathing that breath into the spine. So you can do light touch going down the spine as you're doing it.
Wow. So I look forward to the next time I see you. I want you to take one of my yellow roses and do it down my spine, down
I will.
Trisha's spine. Yeah, I mean, light touch, and that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you, Scott. I will happily.
I look forward to that. Thank you. Twinkling. Krishna, what's a tip that you want to share? What's a tantric tip that you can share?
Oh, I'd like to build on this concept of pedestals and pits. Too often, I found myself in the past of putting someone up on a pedestal. And when we put people up on a pedestal, invariably we inject their values into us. We find ourselves sometimes not being authentic to ourselves. And when I say put people up on a pedestal, it might be, oh my God, Scott, I put you up on a pedestal. Your skills are amazing. Or it might just be an attractive woman who I put on a pedestal just because she looks a certain way. And what I've learned is I can actually find that trait in myself if I look hard enough. And it might not be exactly the same way. I might not have exactly the same sort of wisdom that Scott has, but I have wisdom of my own. And I might not have blonde hair like Trisha does, but I have beauty in a different way in my body. And as long as I can recognize it, then I'm not approaching relationships where I'm creating codependency. I'm standing in my sovereign. And then this is where the penny really drops. That attractive woman I saw at school drop off yesterday, it probably takes her an hour to get ready just to go out the door to drop her kids at school. Because I can now see the masks. And society might label her as sexy, but is she really in touch with that part of herself? I don't know. I question that. And I'm no longer invested in the outcome of that pedestal pit. And I'm just being authentic to me.
Beautiful, beautiful, Krishna. Yeah, I'm got to riff on that for a moment, and then we'll go to Evelina. Of course, as a coach, all the time people come to me when, oh my God, I'm married and I have this crush on the person I work with. Or I'm single and I have a crush on somebody. And here's the thing to recognize. Almost always, when we have a crush on somebody, it's because they represent some qualities or values we're longing to have more of inside of ourselves. And it's all a projection anyway. We're projecting it onto them. And so even if Krishna's, seeing that beautiful woman, well, it's that longing to find his own sexy, right? And, so when we're attracted to somebody, the first question to ask is, what am I imagining is attractive about them? What are the character strengths? What are the values? What are the virtues? What's my projection that I see in them? And then what's my relationship to those virtues, those values, their character strengths? And almost always, I want to be more sexy. I want to be more intelligent. I want to be more whatever it might be. And it's a really wonderful way to take that juicy energy of attraction and crushing and bring it back to yourself. So I just couldn't resist to have one little Love Coach Scott teaching in there. Gotta get one in. Evelina, I'm just so grateful that you've been with us tonight. I have so much respect for you. And I'd love to hear what tip, tool you want to offer.
Thank you. One thing I've loved, I do in my meditations, all of my introductory evenings, which is to have someone really bring their energy deep into themselves, connect to the beloved within, connect to the divine beloved. And then I have them imagine they have a pen that writes golden white light. You write your name all over the cells of your body, all over the organs and the cells, everywhere in your body, which really helps you come in and really live in your own sovereign energy. And then create the light around you, a bubble of light, write your name all over that. What happens is you get all your energy back and you let other people's energy go back to them, because when you fill your core with you, it magnetizes your energy in and releases everyone else. And then you know what you're feeling. I'm such an empath that when I don't do that, I can take on other people's energy and feel really scattered. And then when I do write my name all over my body, I come back to me. And then I get to have a sense of the other as other and me as me. And then we can merge again if we want to, rather than just staying merged all the time with.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Evelina, how do people get hold of you? I just realized and I got to ask Crystal that also. How do people get hold of you? How do people get more Evelina medicine?
My website is evelinarose.com. Ealena, most people misspell it. Ealena, evelinarose.com. And I'm on Facebook, Evelina Rose, The Alchemy of Love, and Love Journey, Tantra of the Heart.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And Crystal, how do people get hold of you?
So I have a website, Tantra for Awakening. On Facebook, I'm Crystal Dawn Morris, or Crystal D. Morris is my Facebook page. And then I also have the Tantraversity.com is where I have my school and my online courses. So I'm easy to find. Just Google me, Crystal Dawn Morris, Sedona, Tantra, anything, you'll find me. I'm everywhere.
Yay, fantastic. And a reminder before we go to Trish, that we being Crystal, Evelina, Trish, and I, are going to be teaching at the Oregon Tantra Fest, and you can learn more about that by going to ortantrafest.com. ORTANTRA, fest, FEST.com. And it's a 2-week festival. Trish and I will be teaching consecutive Fridays, a week from today and 2 weeks from today at 10 o'clock in the morning. So we're looking forward to that. And definitely, Evelina, do you know when you're going to be on then?
I'll be teaching this Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday from 1 to 3 Pacific. I'll be teaching erotic communication and negotiating boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, this coming Monday, I'll be teaching erotic pleasuring meditation. So
Nice.
one Tantra piece that allows you to really develop the ability to run Kundalini in your body. I'll share a little about that. And then to move that and create a real flow where you're making love to the divine and to yourself in a very sweet way, and everybody in their own sanctuary. And then on June 11th, I'm teaching a class I've never taught before on creating a solo erotic life. So it's especially for people sheltering in grace all by themselves, but
Yes.
also for everyone to be able to evolve your eroticism to where you're always with your beloved.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
I can say I'm doing one on Monday, 10 a.m. I'm doing like this keynote kind of, rather than a keynote address, it's going to be a keynote journey, a journey to love and into love and freedom. And then on the 6th, which I think is a Saturday, I think it's also at 10 a.m., I'm doing a cultivating clarity in the time of chaos. So that will be some practices of how we can maintain a sense of clarity and presence, even in the midst of these chaotic times that we're experiencing.
Beautiful. Well, that sounds like fun. Well, all right, I'll say what Trish and I are going to be doing on a week from today, that Friday at 10 a.m. We're going to be teaching how to manage triggers, how to go from this guy into frontal lobe responsiveness, kind of like you saw in the video. And then 2 weeks from today at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be talking about how to go from codependence to interdependence. And recognizing that all of us have experienced that kind of enmeshed codependent, oh my God, I can't live without you and I can't live with you, and that dynamic, and how to shift out of that. So that's what we're going to be working on. And I am really enjoying teaching with Trish, and we are here every Friday night. This is Straight Talk with Scott and Trish, and I'm going to put the spotlight on Trish for a moment for what you want to share.
My tip and trick.
That's right, your tip and your trick.
It really is the breath, is slowing it down. And my favorite connection point with myself and with others is really stopping and putting my hand on my chest or another person's chest and taking a deep breath in together. And really taking a few of those, like 10, 15, 20, like 5 minutes, setting the timer, I don't know. But really just like stopping. And this is with my friends. And they're just like stopping, taking a breath. Hey, do you want to drop in with me? And that's at every moment. That's not just in the tantric field of like erotic sensuality or anything like that, but just really stepping in with that person. And really, and if you want to take it further, is running energy and really like playing with the microcosmic orbit. But really the breath is the piece of connection that really lights me on fire. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you all at the Tantra Fest and for my show on Thursday mornings for self-love. And please, keep showing up here and at Love Coach Academy for incredible shows to help you move through the things that are keeping you stuck in places that you don't want to be.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Trish. I love doing this show with you. Really love it. Love Coach Academy and Light Touch. We bring you free online webinars every day at 9 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening. And we will continue to do that during the COVID crisis because people need a lot of relationship support. And I do want to share one last thing, which is, if you don't already know about it, every Saturday Night Live, I host a wonderful show called Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe. And tomorrow our live guest speakers include Deepak Chopra, Carolyn Miss, Marcy Shimoff, Jay Mayer is going to be there. We've got Magic. We've got some amazing musicians tomorrow. Queen Wah, Elijah Ray, and Pollyanna Bush are musicians. And it's an inspirational variety show. It's really dynamic. It's very powerful. And so, and the theme tomorrow is creating the new normal. What's the new normal going to look like, and how do we create that? So come hear what Deepak Chopra and a lot of other luminaries have to say about that. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I have so much respect for each and every one of you, and I look forward to our next connection. God's blessings. Good night. Namaste. Now must go.